I wanted to step away from the heavy topics this week and just have a little bit of fun and talk about a world of ice and fire. Basically anything to do with House of the Dragon, Fire and Blood, Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire, all of that stuff. And since House of the Dragon, the season finale was last weekend, I've been thinking a lot about prophecy. And so I think I'll probably mention that a bit. And I also finished my Jon and Dany sketch. So here it is. That is my own work of art. So, and that's like the first Game of Thrones piece of art that I have done. That's so strange, but I loved Emilia Clarke and Kit Harington's performances as Jon and Dany, so I had to do that, especially when I heard Ghost's new song, "The Future is a Foreign Land." so that all kind of blended together. But yeah, I'm thinking about prophecy a whole lot, and how in the books, I don't believe in prophecy in real life, but if I did, I would have share Tyrion's opinion on it, basically, that prophecy is like a half-trained mule that'll kick you in the head. And another character had an even more graphic description of how it would bite you in the end. So that, if I were to believe in prophecy, that'd basically be my opinion on it. Not helpful. So I was thinking about the prophecies in the book, though, and Daemon on House of the Dragon. Oh, spoiler alert, by the way. Just in case you haven't seen Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, or read any of that stuff, spoiler alert, I'm gonna spoil some stuff, so now's the time to skedaddle if you don't want to hear it. So on House of the Dragon, Daemon had a green dream, I'm guessing is what it was, experience with the weirwood tree and the godswood at Harrenhal. And it showed on the show this series of images, and it shows the Night King, with the dark and the snow and all of that. And then it shows Dany in the desert, hot, dry, her dragons. And I thought that is such a good illustration of these two opposing forces that are both going to, if left unchecked, both of them will wreak havoc on the world. And I always thought that Dany was going to be Azor Ahai, or is Azor Ahai, the champion of fire, essentially. And that she is the force opposing the Night King, which everybody agrees the Night King is bad. He just, I guess, wants to freeze everyone and everything. But she just is going to burn everything. So that is also a really bad alternative. So in the book, it says Azor Ahai will wake dragons from stone, which she did. And when the red star bleeds, she did that when the red star bled. And that she would eventually bring about the summer that never ends. And they don't really say much about that part in the show. Jorah does tell her that the small folk aren't praying for Viserys's return, that they pray for a summer that never ends, and he said some other stuff. But I thought, I'm from the South. I do not have any wish to see a summer that never ends. I hate the summer. It's miserable. And so there's nothing good about a summer that never ends. And I was telling my boyfriend about it, and he's like, that doesn't sound that bad. And I was telling him, it's not, don't think of it as how it is in the tropics. It wouldn't be that way. It would be a summer that never ends, where things just kept getting hotter and hotter, and wildfires were sparking, and water is evaporating. All our fresh water would evaporate really fast, and it would, and of course the Night King is going to bring the long night, basically a night that doesn't end. So there wasn't any mention of an endless day in the books as far as I can recall. But a summer that never ends could be one long, hot, endless day that burns away all life. And so I think that those are two bad forces, each bad in their own way, that need to cancel each other out. And I think that Jon is the prince that was promised, a song of ice and fire, because I think that the prince that was promised and Azor Ahai are two different people. And so, or at least part of the prophecy that you hear about the prince that was promised in reference to uniting the realm. And he does that, and he doesn't do that under, any title of king of Westeros. He just does that as Jon Snow, and he's, whether he's king in the north, king beyond the wall, or whatever, his actions were that of a person who united the kingdoms. So I think that he fulfilled the role of prince that was promised, and he was played his part in bringing balance to the world, because he's part fire, part ice, that whole ancestry thing. But I know that once the Night King was taken care of, that shifted the scales in the other direction with too much fiery stuff happening. And so he had to take her out. I think he had to take her out. And so I think that I was fine with the ending of Game of Thrones. I didn't really think they gave it enough. They didn't flesh it out enough. They needed more episodes. But I think with what they had to go on, I think the ending was fine. And since when I started reading A Game of Thrones, the first point of view character in the book is Bran Stark. So I started reading that book thinking Bran Stark is the main character. He's like the guy that maybe he's the one seeing everything happen, since he does have that ability. But I thought he was super important from the very beginning. So I wasn't even in the least bit, mad about him being king. It was unexpected to me, because I just thought the three-eyed raven was a necessary thing. Like, somebody had to be sitting at the base of that weirwood tree and at all times, and I thought it might have to be him. But king is fine too. Bran had such a role throughout the history of Westeros, and I do think maybe that it was the same reincarnation, Bran the Builder, Bran the Broken, Bran the Breaker, all of the Brans. I think that it could have very well been the same incarnation of the same person. I don't know how things work in George's world exactly. Only he knows that. I can only speculate, and it's fun to speculate, because obviously Game of Thrones is my major special interest. It's been a huge central part of my life since, I don't know, 2012. When I heard about the show, I went out and got all the books and read all the books, and then started with the show, and then read more books and built on, on from there with all of the Thousand Worlds stuff and all of that that's outside of the Song of Ice and Fire stuff. But there were little things in the Thousand Worlds literature that I thought might be hints at things that are happening in the World of Ice and Fire. Like this one short story called The Glass Flower, which is a really good short story and wouldn't take very long to read it, or you can listen to it on YouTube. And it's basically, there is the existence of this, I think they call it an artifact, which is kind of like a body soul musical chairs machine where people basically go into this thing and they're cast out of their bodies and they have to battle it out kind of on this like astral plane type thing and fight over who gets which body. So in the book, there are people basically that are like forced to be there, with characteristics that someone else wants, and then people who pay money to go and get a chance at winning a new body. And so in this game, people are just battling it out to, take possession of a different vessel. And so one of the creatures, most of them are humanoid, but one of the creatures sounds very dragon-like. And it is basically a winged alien, and they describe it, and it sounds just like a dragon. And so that thing ends up getting taken over by a human soul, and it ends up in a human, and it doesn't realize it, and it tries to fly to escape off a balcony and does not succeed. So, but the human in that, winged alien is intelligent. So that made me think about the dragons and what happened when Dany hatched her dragons and the events immediately preceding it. So I think that somehow by accident, Mirri Maz Duur initiated or activated some sort of process by which body souls musical chairs can take place. I think that she didn't realize that there were 3 dragon eggs in the tent with her when she was doing the blood magic, trying to switch Khal Drogo's spirit and his horses. And I think that's what she was trying to do. I think she was just trying to give him the life force of the horse and then put his spirit in the horse and let it die. But I don't think she realized that there were 3 dragon eggs in that room. And I guess she didn't realize that Jorah was going to bring Dany in there either whenever she started losing the baby. So with all of that happening, then you have 3 dragons, which she, even if she did know that those were in there, she probably thought they were petrified, just like everyone else did. So you had those, Khal Drogo, a horse, and Dany's unborn baby, and then Mirri, Jorah, and Dany. I guess since they were late to the party, that was kind of like they weren't part of the whole soul swapping thing. That's just my guess. But since the baby, Mirri implies that the baby is part of the sacrifice to bring Khal Drogo back. And And Dany later, it seems like she tried to pretend for a second like she didn't know, and then Mary calls her out, and she's kind of like, okay, yeah, but I'm still gonna kill you. And so whenever Dany does the fire thing, I think that Khal Drogo's soul is in a dragon egg, and that her son is in a dragon egg. And I think the third dragon egg, that one is up in the air for me. I don't know if somehow maybe Viserys's remains or something were in the tent also. If they cremated them and carried them around, I have no idea. Or if Miri herself, she was singing there at the end, so I thought maybe she was trying to, do the whole repeat of what she'd been doing in the tent. So I think maybe her spirit could have inhabited a dragon egg. And I think that that's how the dragon eggs are activated, by human sacrifice. And I think that's probably why there were a whole lot of, the inbreeding too, but I think that's probably another explanation of why there were so many stillborn Targaryen children, and why a lot of them would die in infancy. I think that was probably something to do with the dragons. But again, it's George's universe. Only he knows how it works. It's only fun for me to speculate. And oh yeah, another prophecy, before I forget this one. It's called The Song of Ice and Fire. And I thought it'd be really cool, if a nice twist, if it's called that because it was about Ned Stark's great sword, Ice, and it's reforging. And that's one of my favorite tinfoil hat theories of my own. And so in the book, let me back up. In the book, it says that to forge Lightbringer, that Azor Ahai had to first tempered it in water, and it didn't work. And then he tempered it in, he killed a lion, and that didn't work. And then he had to sacrifice his wife, Nissa, to activate Lightbringer, and that the soul activated it. It's kind of like a soul gem in Skyrim, if you think about it. You gotta activate those magical weapons with soul gems, which you get and they get charged when you kill things with souls. The bigger the, more human, or bigger the bigger the soul gem. Just kind of a throwback to Skyrim there. But so I think that the charging of the magical weapons, it works the same in George's universe, essentially, that it needs a soul to activate. And so whether it's a dragon egg or a sword, and so whenever, in the book, whenever the whole stuff with the direwolves happens, Ned Stark kills Lady with his greatsword, Ice, in the book. And so that was a little different on the show. He used a dagger on the show. But in the book, it was his greatsword, Ice. And also, he had beheaded the guy of the Night's Watch first. So that happened first. Then the direwolf. Then, ill in pain, decapitated Ned with the sword, Ice. In the book, I don't remember on the show, probably, but that's what happened. So Ice, having those, 3 events happened, was primed for reforging into a magical weapon. And I don't know what stupid name Joffrey came up with. I can't remember. But I think Brienne renamed the other one Oath Keeper. And so I thought it would be super cool if either Dany or the Night King got taken out by one of the magical weapons forged from ice. And that would make it a song of ice and fire and kind of put that whole thing into it. I don't know why they just like kind of forgot about ice. They didn't do anything with that. It was all that little Valyrian dagger, but which was cool, but you know, it would have been kind of cooler if it was ice. So the other thing was Khal Drogo. Whenever he was giving his fiery speech about what he was going to do after the attempt on Dany's life, he said he was going to conquer the milkmen and their stone tents and do all this stuff. And I think he did. I think he did kept his word to the letter, because Drogon did all of that stuff. And so that's also a reason why I think Drogon was called Drogo, like his spirit inhabited Drogon. Now, I'm not saying his memories are in there for sure. He has some recognition sometimes, it seems like. But I think that, yeah, Khal Drogo is Drogon. So, and he did everything he said he was going to do. And if you play back his speech and then look at different scenes from the show where they're doing all of the things that he says he's going to do, it's just like, it plays out just like he says it will. And so I think at that point, it's almost like a prophecy, but it's also, you have this guy who's keeping his word even when he's been, you know, he's died as a human and his soul is occupying a dragon. And the stallion that mounts the world, Mary tried to prevent that prophecy from happening by, eliminating Khal Drogo and the child. But in doing so, she actually made that prophecy happen, because it was with her dragons that Dany was able to trample cities to dust, essentially. So Dany couldn't have done any of that had Mary not, been vengeful and done all that stuff. Not that she didn't have a good reason to feel vengeful, but by trying to stop that prophecy from happening, she made it happen. And I think that that's, any case in which things that are, anybody claims it's a prophecy, I think anytime anything like that actually comes true, it's because it's self-fulfilling, whether in someone actively trying to make it happen, like in Melisandre's case, she doesn't know that the prophecy's already been fulfilled. So I think that by trying to get the prophecy to come true, like she's trying so hard and she's doing everything so wrong in the book. And I think that she's going to be the one that helps stop that prophecy of the summer that never ends from happening by trying to make it happen. Let's hope anyway. Nobody wants a summer that never ends. I also don't want an endless winter. I just, I love the winter. It's so pretty, but I go completely numb and I've got Raynaud's and my hands and feet go numb and white, so I can't really do winter, and that sucks. But there's some really pretty cold places out there. So I'll just visit the nice warm ones, I guess. But I just wanted to talk about prophecy. And yeah, the ones with Bran Stark and Euron Greyjoy, that is a whole different video. So I'll save that for another time. And yeah, I'm wearing my House Stark t-shirt. because I have a House Stark fan. Arya Stark is my favorite character, and I was not a bit mad that she's the one that got to take out the Night King. I always loved her character, and you know, that kind of thing happening on Lord of the Rings, it kind of made me happy to see it happen again. So she had to become no one for a reason, I guess. And that is all I've got for today. So maybe a serious topic next time. I was drained of seriousness.